Morality Tale to Reflect. Original story by A.J. Hokapog 11. Two Worlds. Introduction. This is a story that people who have been through really hard times and yet came out of them with a good heart will understand and hopefully enjoy. Some of the hardships that I endured and inspired me are poverty, death of someone loved, attempt of murder for doing what is right, living in a land where doing wrong is praised and doing right is cause of extreme hatred, and I know that there are millions who have suffered the same, so this is to inspire them to dream a better future. This is where the story starts. Little Riddimer looked out the window. Their backyard was wide, long, perfect. It had some trees and it was covered in short grass. At the beginning of it there was a small pool, in which Riddimer and his little brothers used to play. A really tall man with a black beard came closer to Riddimer and put his hand on Riddimer's head. He was Big Seth, his father. His amazing height had been always a mystery, because his parents had been of average stature. Since he was a baby, Seth had a golden heart, always pursuing justice and science, and in the bottom of his soul he had always been a sweet boy, despite his intimidating appearance. He was a man that loved waking early in the morning, working hard through the day and spending time with his wife and kids in the evening. Riddimer looked up, to see his father's face and smiled. His little brothers had not yet awakened. His mom was in the kitchen getting breakfast ready. Her name was Natalie, and she was a beautiful small woman. That day was a Sunday in the month of February, and the sun shined in a peaceful way. It seemed that nothing could go wrong. But suddenly, the light world alarm sounded and the hearts of Natalie and Seth became as if struck by a lightning. Then Natalie rushed upstairs and brought a big heavy black bag. It contained Seth's armor. He took the bag from his woman, kissed her, kissed Riddimer and went swiftly out through the door. Seconds later, the sound of the big engine of his jeep disappeared into the distance. Seth was the captain of a platoon in a very large army, that defended the things that they considered the most valuable in the universe, their families and their light way of life. About 75 years in the past, the world reached a human apocalypse in which after almost utter destruction happened, two territories or worlds came to existence, the light world and the air world. In the light world, some valiant, hard-working men rose, and started doing things differently. From the ashes of the previous world, our world, they built a world in which all human beings who could obey laws, loved hard work and acknowledged the principles of respect, could exist in a peaceful and prosperous way. By that time, some men and women of the air world also rose, but in a territory hundreds of miles away, and from their ashes they built a similar world, like the one that had just come to an end, a world with a corrupt government in which authorities never knew honest work but only appeared to care for the citizens, lying to them, and the citizens believing their lies with all their heart, a world where people hated to work and love continuous party, a world where people hated each other and complained all the time, a world where people slept during the day and partied through the night and until the sun appeared, a world without respect and true courage, in which people cowardly stabbed each other in the back with no honor. In the light world people went to sleep at 10 p.m., and only the cops and soldiers remained up through their shifts, guarding the streets and the frontier. The majority of the light world people felt healthy and strong. They were generally in a good mood and always willing to work hard and to play sports. Their universities were full of people that actually loved to study. Their jails were almost empty and also their hospitals. The streets of the light world were very peaceful, and the neighbors were not noisy at all but loved the tranquility of their gardens and their big houses. There was no bullying, no robbery, no drugs, no murder in the light world. People only minded their business and they did not look at others with defying violent eyes. but with a gentle look and sincere smiles. In the air world, they had their streets filled with potholes, because the governors took the money of the people to party, and when they did send workers to repair them, they were drunk. The engineers did not know their business because they were always pursuing parties instead of knowledge. When they finally got out from the university, they only sought to make money without any regard of science or necessities of the people. They bought land intended to be for one family and divided it into 8 families for a very high price. People did not care for one another, because they were almost not sleeping, so they did not have energy to be gentle or caring with one another. They did not have energy to study, to learn science and to develop helpful and sustainable technology. They did not love the land that gave them a place to live and fed them. They did not care and so, continued to throw the garbage in the streets and to poison their own waters. They did not like to work, so they stayed at home craving but not achieving, and cursing because they did not obtain what they wanted. And so, the new air world came to be as the former world, and almost everything was lost, as it had been lost in the past. One day, the most important people from the air world gathered together and came to the conclusion that they had to set a big army in order to attack the light world and take possession of half of the houses and food that they had, because nature had been very harsh with the air world, so it was justice that the light world shared all their prosperity. And so they set an army, and attacked the walls of the frontier of the light world. It was Sunday, and all the light soldiers came bravely to answer the call. Big Seth was one of them. He and his men were strong prepared elements. Despite the fact that there had not been any war in the past, they always trained as if the war were to come the next day. Always fierce, always well slept, always well fed, always strong and above all, always with hearts filled with courage and iron will. And so, the army of the light world came to face the army of the air world. The soldiers of the latter fought with everything they got, because their kids and wives needed a new land and new food, but the soldiers of the light world fought even harder, like lions against men, to defend their way of life and their possessions, because since they had put the seed, cared for the tree and reaped the fruits of their organization and moral values, they felt that they had the divine right to defend it with all their might, and so they did, and so they triumphed, in an overwhelming victory. In a final moment of the battle, after Seth had separated from his army due to a tremendous explosion, he found a soldier with the name of Joseph, a palm of a hand shorter than him, pertaining to the air army. He confronted him, both without bullets and knives, and so a fist fight ensued. The air soldier threw some angry punches, but Seth covered himself, and when the air soldier lowered his guard, he delivered a devastating blow that took the soldier to the ground. Unable to move, the soldier surrendered, and asked with tears for mercy.
"Why are you not willing to share what nature has given you? We had very bad luck and so we ran out of land to cultivate, of houses where to live and of food what to eat. Why don't you share?"
Big Seth took his soldier helmet off, and raising his voice he strongly answered,
"It is not luck, it is a decision that you make day by day, to respect or not to respect, to work with all your heart even if no one is watching you, or not to work, to spend your strength with exercise, or to spend it in vices, to sleep or not to sleep, to obey and understand why there are laws, or to make fun of them, to live quietly and in peace, or to make loud parties, not allowing your hard-working neighbors to sleep. From my point of view, it is only a decision that defines the sort of work that a person deserves, because at the end, whatever a man or woman sows, that is what he or she will reap."
In what kind of world would you like to live? Thank you for watching.